How's it going, Screen Queens? Welcome to Screen Cheeks, the only show that has a bird for a mascot and isn't racist. My name's Kiefer.
Kayla.
Damn straight. Today we're going to talk to you about two ghost movies that we saw.
One's really good and one's
Complete.
really, really good.
Well, let's get into the nitty-gritty, folks. Let's talk about the one that's worse than the other. Let's put on the
Mood lighting.
spooky light. Boom. Insidious 4, The Last Key.
More like Insidious 4, The Last Airbender live-action movie.
Insidious 4, The Last Key. More like Insidious 4, Please Be the Last Movie. Insidious 4, The Last Key. More like Insidious 4, Gave Me Diabetes. Insidious 4, The Last Key stars Lynn Shay as Elise, a psychic who can wander into a spiritual realm known as the Further. It also stars Lee Weiner, creator of the Saw movies and best friends of James Wan, creator of the original Insidious series. I think this movie has two major flaws. The first one being the directing. This director thinks he's better than the Insidious title card.
Big mistake. We've had the Insidious title card beginning and end of every other Insidious movie, and this movie did not have the original title card, and it felt like a punch in the groin.
Let me ask you a question, buddy. You think you're better? You think you're better than this? You think you're better than that?
You ain't.
You're not better than that.
You ain't.
Let me tell you something. This movie proves it. Well, I think you and I both agreed that in the first 6 minutes, almost, when we're seeing Elise's childhood, almost feels like the pitch.
Yeah.
Like something that was recorded maybe months before the rest of the stuff, written and filmed months before the rest of the stuff. And the vast majority of the film drops a lot of those ideas in favor of literally nothing.
Something else interesting is the trailer. A lot of the footage shown in the trailers, even up to a week before release, wasn't even in the movie. Like, some good stuff I was looking forward to seeing. The bits with the Further, this was the weakest Insidious movie as far as the Further goes. Hands down. We got nothing.
You have a lot in the beginning of the movie, them saying this house is so full of spirits. There's hundreds of spirits here. It's so haunted. It's so
because we forgot to add, the house that Elise grew up in was on prison grounds, and there was people constantly being sent to death row.
I didn't forget that. The director.
That ends up being something that's
important later on. There's a large element that you think will be large, introduced in the beginning of the film, with them saying that the electric chair is going again with the lights dimming. We even see in the beginning of the film, and even once when the ghost is reintroduced, that the main villain of the film can conduct electricity. It's a way more prominent in the beginning. It's almost completely forgotten about at the end. We don't ever get to see the electric chair. None of that imagery is really used. You could argue that jail imagery is used in the end. He does like to keep prisoners, the villain does. But we only see
one or two.
Two. The Elise and her father.
Two at a time. So we're thinking going into this movie, we have in the trailer this really awesome scene of this hallway of red doors opening and all of these ghosts stepping out. That was in every single trailer for this movie. And it was being shown in the Instagram promotional material days before release. That scene was not in this movie. And it was really disappointing. We got how many ghosts in the Further? 2? 3.
So we got Help Her.
We got Help Her. We got the main bad guy. And we got Elise's dad.
3. So that means that there are more ghosts in Insidious 1 just in the initial scene in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
When Elise first enters the Further.
And I mean, this movie could have been garbage poo-poo, and if they would have given me some really cool ghost creature designs in this last 30 minutes in the Further, I would have been
Could have gone a
just
long way.
fine.
A
I would
little
have been
bit of
just fine.
spectacle could have gone a long way. A lot of that stuff really highlighted later on when you realize that the only way that this movie can scare you is by blowing out your eardrums.
Agreed. Yeah, so big disappointment in a long... I will love that franchise until the end of time.
Absolutely. I don't.
Absolutely.
This movie doesn't ruin the rest of the Insidious
Absolutely
movies.
not.
I'd say if you're an Insidious fan like us, it could still be worth watching. Other than that, don't
go in thinking it's going to be an Insidious 2 because it's not.
It drops in the same way that Insidious 3 dropped from 2. I'll say that. If that makes sense.
I don't know if that's fair comparison. I think that it's they might as well have just made it into a made-for-TV movie. They may as well have just made Insidious 4 made-for-TV on Lifetime or Sci-Fi. And I would have been far less disappointed. I would have been grateful for what they gave me. I am not grateful that I went and spent $12 to see a movie like that, like Insidious 4, The Last Key. I'm glad I saw it, don't get me wrong, and I will own it when it comes out on DVD because I want to complete my collection. But don't go into it with any expectations at all.
Go into it with the lowest of expectations.
If you love Elise, you'll love the movie. I think she's the only thing that saved the movie for me in any respect at all.
Yeah.
She's just a very lovable human being. And Lin Shaye's background in really shitty indie movies. She's just great. She's a gem. She's a national treasure.
But yeah, this movie just didn't do it for me. I didn't care for the man with the keys.
So let's close the book on Insidious 4 and not reopen it again until our children are grown enough and want to watch it. And we'll encourage them not to, but we'll have it on DVD in case they want to.
So yeah, Insidious 4, The Last Key gets a 4 out of Key. That's good pie, but that is rough. I would fucking puke.
I think I could do it. I think I could eat a whole pie.
A whole pie? I'm already feeling sick. I only got one piece in. I thought I was gonna punk on Rooney Mara. Rooney, if you're watching this, sorry. This sucks. Ghost Story is a movie directed by some hipster named David Lowery, starring Casey Affleck as a bedsheet and Rooney Mara as a pie.
Very touching film. Very emotional.
Very emotional. It's about a couple who buy a house together, and the male, I'm not going to assume his gender, he doesn't say it. The Casey Affleck character passes away in a car accident and proceeds to then haunt Rooney Mara and his old house. And you kind of get to see the effects that certain events and also just Rooney Mara in general has had on him throughout his life, and sort of a film about what we value in our own lives and in our relationships and in the things we own. It's a very touching movie.
It just puts you in your place as a
Re-
human being.
really does. A lot of this movie's story is conveyed without dialogue, completely through expressions, the way that characters sort of interact with objects. Um, Even the text in this movie, there's a couple of shots of books and notes. It's shown very briefly and very small on the screen. Going to show you again that the words don't really matter. A lot of it's just about the emotional connection to what's happening right now. I will say my one major issue with this movie is an extremely long, drawn out, unnecessary, stupid scene that takes place sort of in the middle ish of the movie. And it's not the pie eating scene.
The pie eating scene was actually great.
The pie eating scene is good.
Really good.
It's good, and it made me sad. Anyway, again, going on to what I was saying about the long, stupid scene. What I wanted to say about this movie as a whole is that it's sort of the anti-Mother. If you guys remember the film Mother, which probably is like
I wish I didn't.
1% of you. Mother was a film that when you leave, you sort of want to go back and analyze it. It seems really big, but the more you analyze it, kind of the more stupid it gets. Whereas with this movie, it's the opposite. A lot of this movie you don't really need to analyze. It's very personal. I think it's going to make everybody feel something based on your own personal experiences, your own memories. So as a result, when you put a giant scene in the middle of the movie where some hipster drinking a microbrew at a party starts to explain the film, kind of grinds it to a halt in a way that even having your lead actress eat an entire pie without cutting really can't do. So the ironic thing about Ghost Story is that clearly it's a movie that doesn't believe in itself.
And I read interviews after watching the movie with the director, and he didn't necessarily wholly believe in the movie. The movie was something that was very personal to him. He was going through an existential crisis and wanted to portray that, but was afraid of how it would be received, and unfortunately that is very much felt in the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
Starting with the scene with the weird bald old hipster in a house with teenagers, and then continuing on through the movie. And it was still a beautiful movie. It still was exceptional, but the feeling that the director had of fear of people not understanding what he was going for, which is silly, what it did is he ended up talking down to his audience in a really serious way.
Yeah, so either with that scene, you're telling us that you didn't think you were getting the message clear enough across with your imagery, or you were telling us that we're too stupid to know that a ghost would be sad if he haunted his girlfriend. Not that stupid. Message is pretty clear. I think that the people who aren't going to enjoy your movie maybe needed a scene like that, but I think even with a scene like that, they're not going to enjoy ugly Vsauce Michael here explaining the science of the end of the universe and the meaninglessness of it all. Because honestly, I did find profound meaning in this movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everywhere you look. In my favorite thing that we talked about after the movie was over is sometimes the value we put on relationships after somebody has passed away that might even be false, in a sense. There's a scene where Casey Affleck writes Rooney Mara a song, and he's playing it for her, and she obviously hates it. Like, she obviously doesn't like it. But it shows after he passes away, she's listening to it, and she's smiling because it reminds her of him. So that was what was interesting to me is Casey Affleck, I think, kind of after, I keep calling him Casey Affleck, the characters don't have names. So the characters do not have names.
I think he's labeled in the movie as C.
C, and she's
I'll check
M.
on IMDb. Yeah, so
they're just initials. It's Casey and Rooney.
Rooney Marinara.
So that was what was interesting to me is I think that, you know, the living put different value on things after somebody's died but I think that he kept the correct value. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah, well, things sort of get put in
what's
perspective.
strange is that the movie shifts perspectives without meaning to. Does that make sense? So it almost feels like memories being looked back on in the beginning of the movie were from Rooney Mara's perspective,
Yeah.
where things were really good, maybe not perfect, but good, and she loved him and was listening to his music, and they were moving into this house together. But when it shifts, Rooney Mara actually leaves halfway through the film, and we don't really see her again except in flashbacks. And Casey Affleck's character, when he's ruminating on things and thinking about things, they're not great. They're not perfect. They fought. She didn't like his song. She didn't want to be stuck in that house. She wanted to move to the city. Like, the ghosts saw things the way they were supposed to be, but the living didn't. So we had that, which was really interesting. We had the concept of what really will matter when you die.
Yeah, which is
what
really,
will matter when
which
you
is
die.
really interesting thing, and I think that the movie did a great job of showing us that, yeah, of course, everybody wants to make an impact on the world. Everybody wants to be big. Everybody wants to be the next Beethoven, right, hipster ball guy? But at the end of the day, I think what we're going to really matter is the few people who have impacted us, and all we can really hope for is that we impact them in return to drive them forward. That's where true meaning is found.
I think that, so we finished watching this movie, and then the next day I came across an online article, I guess you could say, of a woman who was on her deathbed dying of terminal cancer. And she was writing about what she wished she had focused on and what she focused too much on that she wished she didn't focus on. We're going to trips, we're going to concerts, we're going skydiving, we're trying to do these big things with our life, but the movie focuses on, in this article that I read, focuses on the little moments. The lying in bed with your partner and just talking, or just looking at each other, or just reading a book on the beach, or cuddling your dog. Like, it's the little moments that you're going to miss, or that you're going to be thinking about on your deathbed. And I work in an environment, I work with the elderly. We have a lot of death, and those are the things that they talk about when they're on their deathbed. Is, I wish that I could go on one more walk with my husband, or I wish that I had my dog here one more time. So the movie really made me put things in perspective.
Yeah, this is a great movie. If you really want to slow down, help put things in perspective, I believe that if you give this movie the time and you're patient with it, this movie can make you feel something, can have an impact on you in a positive way. Yeah, it was a good movie. I think it was one of the best movies I've seen this year, and this is like,
We're 12 days in. One of the best.
well, I'm saying the best
this
movies.
year.
One of the best movies I've seen of 2017. That
Absolutely.
2017 had to offer. I of course have not seen Three Billboards, and I haven't seen Lady Bird, so I can't really say where my rankings are before I see those, because I am really interested in seeing those movies. But I will say this is definitely among the best 2017 had to offer. I would like to see a shorter cut of the film. This movie has an interesting way of feeling extremely long, and I say that as someone who really enjoyed it. So I liked the fact that it felt really long. I kind of
definitely, we talked about, felt like a movie that could have been a short film.
Yeah,
like
could
maybe
have been
30
a short
minutes.
film, and it still would feel probably like 90 minutes, even if you cut it down to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We could take out a lot of the second act, or at the very least, shorten it quite a bit. Other than that, I really don't have a lot of complaints to Ghost Story. It's a lot of nitpicking just because the movie was so solid. Is really all there is left to do, is just nitpick.
And I mean, worst case scenario, it will just make you crave chocolate pie.
Yeah. So yeah, Ghost Story, I would give it a 9 out of 10.
I think that I'm going to solidly agree with you. It took me a couple of days after the movie was over. I thought I liked it a lot. I knew that it was going to make me think a lot, but it did still feel heavily pretentious to me.
It is pretentious.
Heavily pretentious.
That is, of course, because the director is probably extremely pretentious. I'll put a photo of him right here. If this is the face of a man whose movies you could take seriously, give Ghost Story a shot.
I think everybody should just give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a
Give
shot.
it a shot.
It's only 90 minutes.
It's $1.50 at Redbox. You're not going to be losing a lot. It will make you think, and if it doesn't make you think, at the very least, you're going to be blown away by the imagery. I think that that's fair.
I think so.
If the message doesn't hit you hard, the imagery is beautiful enough to save it for you.
Yeah. Ghost Story, 9 out of 10. Go see it. If you want, you could turn your sound off when the hipster guy comes on screen.
We strongly recommend doing
or
that.
just skip it. I didn't even think of that. I could have just skipped the scene. On the whole, the movie was really good.
So,
join us next week when we post a 3-hour-long Star Wars The Last Jedi analysis. You got time for another one of those, right?
except it's just going to be 3 hours of Kylo Ren in his tight pants. Me screaming
it's fucking
for
hot.
3 hours.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
fucking hot.
I want to see Adam Driver's body look like it's been run over by a steamroller.
Can I just say...
he looks photoshopped in that scene.
Can I just say, while that meme is great, like, he obviously worked really hard on his figure.
That scene wasn't originally written into the movie. Adam Driver specifically requested
that he had a shirtless scene.
I'm just kidding.
No, I believe that. That's one of those things that's
No.
not even so crazy. Like, that just makes sense.
No, George Lucas actually specially requested a shirtless scene.
Oh, George Lucas wanted.
Holy shit! We better call this quits before we
You
die.
heard it here first. IMDb trivia. George Lucas specifically requested the Kylo Ren shirtless scene, so you can thank him
And
for that.
them is facts. Go write it on Wikipedia.
Leave a comment down below. What's worse, Kylo Ren's tits or Jar Jar Binks? Well, guys, that was our first episode of Screen Cheeks. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Hit the bell. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Tumblr. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on MySpace. Follow us on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Get us on LinkedIn. Hire me. Give me a job. If you want, you can even go to my freaking Neopets account. Feed my dog.
Please.
Go add me on RuneScape.
Screen name Big Daddy Walrus on
Screen
Pornhub.
name Big Daddy Walrus on Pornhub. Find me in the comment section of midget porn. All of them. I've checked. Every last one of them.
Would have liked to see up close of Rooney Mara throwing up.
Ghost Story 2.
Ghost Story 2, Rooney Mara's chocolate pie vomit.
Ghost Story 2. Just 90 minutes of pie eating.
I would pay to see it.